The third part of The Knights of Fianna, Tracks of Courage, ties the story up so well. It is, dare I say, goated with the sauce. In all seriousness, coming out of part 2, I was not sure how I felt about this. But after part 3, I know that this anniversary might be challenging the Australia record for my favourite piece of danmachi content. I don't think it quite surpasses it, but it's very close. So let's just get into the story of part 3, and then I'll give a little bit of a rundown of my thoughts at the conclusion of it. So, first of all, the beginning of this part is fairly comedic. It tries to lift up the tone so it's not too dark and depressing. And this is primarily done through the, in my opinion, excellent use of Elmina, who is an ancestor of Tione, in her dealings with Finn. So yeah, it's pretty much 10,000 years of wanting to sleep with Finn, which, you know, it is what it is. You gotta go for the goal when you know what it is, you know. Well, I've really enjoyed this. It was kind of very nice seeing them interact, seeing her in her own way try to pull Finn out of his depression during this part was very, very good to see. Obviously, she doesn't quite succeed, so Lazar has to be a man, do the right thing, and get him on board to go save humanity. So, the rest of our cast is busy trying to take a fortress, which they can't take because they keep getting attacked by mysterious light. However, Finn shows up, and upon seeing Deval has been killed during this fight, decides that he has to save the rest of humanity, pretty much. Live up to Deval's expectation of him. So with Finn's help, they manage to take the castle, and through the work of the spirit Finnegas, they form a barrier that prevents them from being attacked by Balor. So this is all just leading up to the second half of part 3, which is entirely the battle between humanity and the monsters. While we don't know exactly how Auraria was formed during this, we know that this was probably the definitive battle for humanity's future in the world of danmachi. And it was an insane battle. This shit was hype as fuck. Like, you had basically all the ancestors of the Loki familia showing up and putting in work to try to win a battle against a sea of monsters. 100,000 of humanity's finest versus this army of monsters. And they have to take on the one, the only, the piercing eye Balor, the monster Rex of the 49th floor, and that in of itself is insane. But they also had to take on Udeus, the monster Rex of the 36th floor, so the odds were well and truly stacked against them. However, everybody put in work. Yuri, Galmus, and Elmina managed to kill Udeus, and at the cost of pretty much the entire army being obliterated, Finn was able to face off against Balor. And I do mean pretty much all of them were obliterated. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was 10,000 of them left of the 100,000, which is insane. Like, the monsters obliterated this army. However, when all hope seems lost at the end, the Knights of Fianna charge Balor. However, Balor, being, you know, a beast, obliterates this charging host coming towards them, except for Finn. And Finn is quite literally ready to give up. He's simply moving forward because he believes this is what Deval would have wanted for him. He doesn't have any true motivation in his battle. However, there is still one man, one great hero of humanity that is yet to step foot on this battlefield. And this man is none other than the antagonist of the 4th anniversary, Epitemius. When I saw this man, I lost my mind. This is giving so much characterization that he needed to bring him to an even higher plane on my mind. And from the sound of his dialogue, he was already quite disheartened by the time this battle took place. However, he showed up anyway because that's what humanity needed. And with the power of the Holy Flame, he wiped out the entire sea of monsters, emptied an entire battlefield of monsters using his fire, until only Balor remained, who was immune to the flames of heaven. And so Finn, with his cursed spear and his spirit, charged Balor. And as the spear forged by Finnegas allowed the Knights of the Fianna to contact him from the afterlife and remind him of his gaze to become a hero, Finn charged forward and slayed Balor at the cost of his own life, tearing a hole through an entire canyon. Finn, in his final moments, paved the path to Orario and to the Knights of Fianna's dream, the land of paradise, Tionanog. And little did they realize this paradise would come in the form of the great city of Orario. So yeah, this anniversary was insane in my mind. Like, it truly makes you invested in the characters, even though you know none of them truly will affect the main story. However, you can see through it that a lot of it is, you can see the inherited will, this heroic will that is passed down through time immemorial in the world of Danmachi, that affects even the characters in the present day. Bell, Ryu, Otar, Finn, even Bait, Gareth, Eyes, they all have this heroic will that is forged by these heroes and passed down to them. And this anniversary cements that even more. What else is there to say other than that? If you enjoy the main series, this anniversary raises it to an entirely new level. And I think maybe one day we might get another of these anniversaries that expands potentially on Otar, as I feel like Otar has probably the most, how does one say, to gain from this inherited will. Because if Otar doesn't have like a hero of antiquity that he is descended from, that might mean way more for his characters than anyone else. And to finish this off, we're going to tie it back into Estrella Record and how in Estrella Record a big deal was made on the chain of justice, the justice that is passed from one another, and as long as you are just, justice will always come around. And this anniversary kind of is a continuation of that, but for the heroic will of the world's adventurers. As in, someone like Finn, who had pretty much lost all hope in humanity, and all hope in himself, was, even if he had to do it artificially, able to overcome his own limitations, able to overcome his own doubts, and save the world. This is kind of, well, this I would say comes back to someone like Othar in the 3rd anniversary, where he basically had to hold all of Orario's hopes on his back when he defeated Zod. And it was in a very similar kind of scene where before they were able to pull off their feet, they had to first take in all that was going on around them and all the will that was being fed into them for their victory. Which, it is quite nice that Omori has decided to kind of have these parallels to show, despite being a relatively simple series, Danmachi tells its story over and over again. And I'm sure in the future, when it finally comes to that point, we're going to see similar actions with Bell. As Bell, pretty consistently in the main story, just reaffirms his character over and over again, and that he will save everyone. And sooner rather than later, I imagine, he's going to save all of Danmachi's world. And the heroic legend that started with Argonaut and passed down through everyone will finally have its natural conclusion in Bell. That's about it. The 3rd anniversary is really, really good. And if you haven't read it by now, you should definitely try to make some time to read it. It's on YouTube. And if I wasn't as lazy as I am, it would still be in the game. But procrastination is one hell of a thing.